All right. All right. Welcome to another episode of Scene Busters podcast with Gordon and Justin.
Hello, folks.
And so we kind of had a plan for what we were going to talk about tonight. And then before we decided to start, I had a couple hot takes I wanted to share with Justin, and we'll get to those in a minute. Justin decided to train wreck these into trying to destroy my evening. And I think honestly, this is what we talked about, what we spent the bulk of our time talking about. I really think is a huge topic. I think it's one of the biggest topics in college sports right now. If I'm totally
It's
honest about this,
trending on Twitter.
it is trending on Twitter. Chris Beard. So for those of you who haven't heard, Chris Beard, head coach, Texas Tech basketball. One of the top. He's actually number 5 on the top highest paid coaches in college basketball. Is a UT alum. He graduated from the University of Texas.
Yes, sir.
Today, Shaka Smart left the University of Texas to take a job in Marquette.
Yes, sir.
Which is how this, I think this kind of how this got started, because I told Justin that one of my hot takes involved Shaka Smart, that I actually think that we need to keep an eye on him next year. Marquette. I think if he gets back to playing the way, if he coaches Marquette the way that he coached at VCU, because Marquette kind of falls in that mid-major situation like VCU did, I really think that he could kind of get them back to a big name status. Having said that, you made some, unfortunately, really good points. And I really hate that they're good points, but they're very Texas points, I guess. It's not necessarily that I think that. So, what your first point?
So,
go ahead.
So, y'all heard me beeping in the microphone earlier. Beep, beep. I don't know if y'all knew what that was, but that's Texas backing up the dump truck, and it's got $100 bills full on the top to Chris Beard. They're backing it up to his house right now. And poor old Gordon is thinking, man, Chris Beard loves it in Texas Tech. He loves it in Lubbock. He's going to stay here. And I was like, Gordon, let me school you up real quick. What's going to happen? So Texas is going to back that dump truck up full of money to Chris Beard to go coach at his dream job. And unfortunately for you, man, this almost unfortunate that had to happen to Texas Tech, but Chris Beard is going to be the next basketball coach at Texas. And I had to let Gordon know that. Unfortunately, it probably ruined his evening. And I could see as I made more and more points about it, I could see just the disappointment setting over
the
his
problem
face.
is this. The problem is this. There are a lot of good points. Chris Beard has been quiet about it. The only thing that he's really done is he changed the background, his cover photo.
Like Twitter banner.
Twitter banner. Boner. Cover photo, whatever.
Twitter boner.
Yeah, I said it. And it's the one that was made for him when he got to Tech. And it says welcome home.
So that's a good sign.
I think it is. The problem is this. There's been no answer. There's been nothing definitive that makes me think he's leaving. There's also been not a lot of definitive stuff that makes me think he's staying. So that's where it's like, great. And then I was like, well, until he comes out and says I'm staying, it's going to be in the air. And you brought up Jimbo Fisher.
I did. I brought up that Jimbo Fisher because I'm an A&M fan and I was following it at the time, that Jimbo Fisher said he was staying in Florida State until the very day that he announced that he was going to A&M, or that the media started breaking the story. And so I mentioned to Gordon, what is pretty much going to go like this. Chris Beard is going to say that he's staying in Tech until the very last minute. And then he's going to have to make a decision. And Texas is probably going to double his pay to about $8 million, $6 to $8 million a year. They're going to give him at least a 50%, maybe 100% pay raise. I don't think Texas has any problem making Chris Beard the highest paid basketball coach in the country. I don't think they have any problem with that, or buying him out. They don't. That doesn't matter to Texas. They spend more money on athletics than any university in the country. So what's going to happen? I was telling Gordon, poor Gordon, still thinks Chris Beard's staying, but I was telling him what's going to happen is that, he's going to have to make a decision. This opportunity to coach at your alma mater, his dream job, it comes around once, maybe you get twice that you might get that job. But they're going to give him more money and they're going to offer him his dream job, and he's going to say, no, I'm staying. And then he'll have to make a decision. The press conference will come out. Well, for my family, I think about my family, and it's for our family. It's better for us to take this job and move to Austin. And I want to thank everyone at Texas Tech. Blah blah blah. I love all you guys. You always be family. I love Lubbock, Texas. Always in my heart. Whoop de whoop. I'm gonna go Texas and kick your ass every year now. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
So
unfortunately, Gordon, that's what's happening.
I mean, I don't think. Here's the other thing. It's also worth noting. Rich Pitino has left Minnesota. Pitino. Rick Pitino. I'm sorry. His name is Richard technically.
So we're both right.
He's out.
He went to Minnesota.
He was at Minnesota. He
was at Iona.
You sure it was Iona?
Rick Pitino was at Iona. Did he take them?
Oh, I'm thinking of Richard Pitino, who's his brother.
Okay. But the Rick Pitino that was involved with this in the scandal at Louisville.
Yes,
he's
at Iona. Yeah, he's at Iona. So I'm sorry. I'm looking over people who have lost, like coaches that are gone, and trying to see if there's anybody who left major universities that may even be looked at. And I'm not seeing anybody that Texas really may seriously consider.
That's why everything's lining up that they're going to give Chris Beard everything he wants 100%. If he wants $10 million, they'll give it to him.
Well, and unfortunately, the fact that Lon Kruger left Oklahoma to retire rather suddenly is maybe motivating for Texas, especially because they're going to be now competing directly with not just another big school, but they're going to be competing with, another Big 12 school.
It makes so much sense to take the thing that turned Texas Tech around into a Big 12 contender every year.
Yeah.
And then basically they're just going to be competing with Kansas and Baylor, because if they take Beard, I mean, I'm not saying that Texas Tech couldn't hire someone good, but basically they're thinking if we can take Beard.
Right. You set Tech back.
Then we set Tech back a little bit. And now we just got Kansas. Oklahoma's coach just retired, and they're pretty good every year. But, we would be getting probably what we think is the best coach in the country, and we'd be going against Kansas.
It definitely creates a swing in momentum.
It makes so much sense for Texas to do it. And I'm not a Texas fan, so.
No, I know. Like, it does make sense for them to go after him.
I hope A&M goes and gets him.
I think there's a lot of schools that would like to go get Chris Beard, if I'm honest with you. And I don't really blame them.
Though, for Texas, like the money's not an object for them.
No, it makes sense for them to make a play for it. It definitely makes sense for them to say, "Hey, we're going after Chris Beard." I think that's the reason that all of this speculation even exists, is because, I mean, obviously it's available. But man. That would be a devastating. That would be devastating for Texas Tech University as a whole. It would not just the basketball program, but as a whole. I mean,
there'd be a lot of tears.
There is a lot of pride that has been given to that program in general. I mean, especially when Bobby Knight came here. But Chris Beard certainly came in with a chip on his shoulder. A lot of people believed in him. A lot of people believed in his mentality. A lot of people supported it. And I think it would be it would definitely be a blow to Texas Tech University as a whole, not just the basketball program.
Yeah, it sure would be. So that's why I'm letting you know now, because, you're my buddy, and I don't want you to be blindsided by this.
Very kind of you.
I know look, if there was rumors coming out that Jimbo was leaving A&M, I'd be like, stop it, come on, man, y'all chill out. I'd be deflecting. No, that's not gonna happen. He likes it here. He loves it here, but it would be devastating. So
no, it would be. And like I said, I think it would be devastating if he left for the school as a whole. Obviously, it makes sense that every major university that has a coaching position. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if OU goes after him. I wouldn't be surprised if OU doesn't say, "Hey, step outside your door at 2:00 tomorrow. There's gonna be $100 bills raining from the sky."
Yeah,
Like,
and I would imagine that too. But what sets Texas apart is it's his so-called dream job. It's his alma mater, and
no, I understand
they
that.
will match anything that any school puts out there. They have no problem doing that. So
That's true. I think they're also super excited that Shaka Smart was willing to leave. I think the fact that he was
I think
willing
he
to leave.
wanted out. Yeah, I
Oh,
think he
no, well,
wanted out.
I think he saw that it was if I'm honest, I really kind of think it was a mutual agreement. Like, hey, bud, we really don't want to fire you because you are making the NCAA tournament. I mean, he's made the tournament a number of times. What he 3 NCAA tournaments in 6 years, which is not spectacular, right? But it's nothing to.
You think if they make the Sweet 16 this year that they run him off or he leaves or whatever you
No, if they
want
made
to
the Sweet
say?
16, they'd have been fine because they would have had
I
to win
think so
two
too.
games. They would have had to win 2 games to get there. If they'd have made it to 32. But let's not forget, I mean, like
I think losing to Abilene Christian is like the nail in
that
his coffin.
that was part of it. The other part is Tech won again, and even though we got knocked out in the round of 32, that meant that in Chris Beard's 4 seasons that there was a tournament, he's been at Tech 5 seasons. 4 of those seasons had tournaments. He now has 9 wins. 1 came this season, and that 1 win was enough to make Texas Tech a more winning program in the NCAA tournament than Texas under all of Shaka Smart.
Yeah.
And like that, so that alone, I think that didn't help. I think if they make it to the round of 32, I think a lot of people are going, well, hey, listen, I think with teams like Texas, being realistic doesn't set in until you do really well. And I think that if I'm honest, I think Texas was seeded too highly. I don't think they should have been ranked that high.
Of my friends that were Longhorn fans, they were all pretty excited about this year. About the tournament in general. They were kind of like, yeah, man, we're gonna make a run. We got a good squad. And then they get beat by Abilene Christian. So,
well, and I think part of it comes down to, I mean, here's the deal. Let's understand really quickly. Like, let's back up for a second and understand that Texas had a decent season, but they did not have a great season. And I think that's kind of where, a lot of, if I'm honest, I think that's where a lot of these problems stem from. They finished 3rd in the season, in the conference during the regular season, right? They were 19-8 overall and 8-5 at home, 6-2 on the road. 11-6 in conference. It's a good conference record, right? But they lost 3 games to Tech, who finished much further down. So again, it kind of goes back to like the Big 12 this year was just savage. They were savage this year. It was a very wild year in the Big 12. Kansas played pretty well during the season. But again, if you go back and look at like Texas playing Tech in the Big 12 championship, they won by 1 point on what some have dubbed a phantom penalty at the end of the game. So like there's all these things kind of that go into that, right? They make it, I think, again, and I think this is something that Texas fans and I think schools that have high expectations for their athletic programs have, they're not realistic until they do, like if they'd have made it to the round of 32 and then lost, they'd have been like, well, if we look at it, this team, they did pretty good, really. Like they weren't a team that we should have expected to win the national championship, but they expect them to beat Abilene Christian.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and that's why I said, like, I think if you win that, it changes Shaka Smart's entire situation. Okay, so I'm just looking really quickly here at this is CBS. They've got 7 coaches they think could be in the running for this position. Obviously, Chris Beard from Texas Tech is on there. Porter Moser from Loyola Chicago. I I mean,
Those
let's
are all
not.
backup. Those are backup plans.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal, though. Texas. I mean, these guys that coach at mid majors and then jump to bigger universities have had success. I mean, look at Chris Beard, Eric Musselman from Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
That actually is a really good pick, if I'm honest. This one I think is a total stretch. Joe Golding. That's Abilene Christian's coach, by the way.
Wow. Are they trolling Texas?
I don't know, but after the win, Golding said, "Ultimate respect to the University of Texas and Coach Smart. Had an incredible year this year. Very talented team. We have the utmost respect for them. Just want to say that." So kind of goes back to that, like, hey, at the end of the day, like, I'm not trying to burn all these bridges. Grant McCasland from North Texas. Again, he already has more wins in the NCAA tournament over the last 5 years than Shaka Smart. Both of those guys do. Mm-hmm. Royal Ivey, Brooklyn Nets assistant coach. He's a former Texas player.
Yeah.
And he's been, an assistant coach at the NBA level with a few different teams. And this is actually, and the reason they put this in here is they're equating it to Juwan Howard and his success at Michigan, who kind of had a very similar coaching path. So that I could see that, especially if you're looking for that whole like home run with the fans. He's got some NBA experience. I think that does give him an edge in recruiting because he can say, "Hey, listen, he's been an assistant coach with Oklahoma City Thunder, New York Knicks, and the Brooklyn Nets. There's been some big players at those, at those places. The Knicks, but the Knicks are gonna nick. You know what I mean? And then last is Rick Pitino at Iona. It says if this coaching search was based solely on coaching chops, Rick Pitino would be number one on the list. Mm-hmm. He does have a couple chips.
Couple chips. Let's get into it real quick. Okay. From my understanding is that Rick Pitino was dating a student. Is it right? Gordon, is that? I think he was hooking up with a student is what we should say. And it might have even been a cheerleader, I think. Okay. But basically, just to put some of the skepticism aside, what I've heard, and I'm pretty sure is true, is that Rick Pitino got a student pregnant while he was cheating on his wife. He had a grad assistant coach that was part of his staff take the girl to an abortion clinic to get an abortion. And what's really crazy about the story is that the grad assistant and the girl that he took to get an abortion from Rick Pitino's bastard child ended up getting together and being married, and now they're married and have children, I believe. So kind of a weird thing, but Rick Pitino, I don't see why Texas would take. I mean, why would they welcome that? He might be a great coach, but I think all the criticism they're going to get from the hire, all the questions.
I don't disagree, and I don't.
There's so many easier.
I don't think they're taking Pitino. I don't think they're taking Pitino. If I'm honest with you, I think
it's out of the question. If I was them.
Yeah, I think the first, and that's why I read that first line where it says if this coaching search was based solely on coaching chops, he would be number one on the list.
Right.
Because he's a fantastic coach. He has had immense success at the collegiate level.
Won a title with Louisville, I believe. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like he was fantastic. So
I just don't see Texas taking. There's no reason.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
There's no reason for the headache.
I think Royal Ivey. I think if I'm honest with you, shut up. I think Royal Ivey would be a good pick.
No, stop, Gordon. Stop trying. I mean, you already know what's happening. Stop.
Yeah, I know Chris Beard is going to say, wreck him.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Well,
I hope he doesn't say that as he's announcing that he's leaving.
You want to take a quick break and get on some NFL?
Yeah, let's take a quick break. We'll call it there, guys. Stay tuned to our next video for some NFL breakdowns. A lot happened in the NFL. A lot to go over in that video.
Yeah, we got to break down those the Dolphins making moves and the Niners and Eagles making moves with the Dolphins. So we're gonna break it down for you. They're moving up.
So catch us on the next video. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell us what you think. Is Chris Beard staying in Lubbock, Texas, or is he bound for Austin? Man, I really hope he stays. So we'll see you soon. Stop that.